In this video we are going to discuss how to monitor the load of the Ellipse analytical system. This will include monitoring a running load. There are 4 stages of the data load. The staging load, which transfers data from the Ellipse system. An ETL load, which transforms this data into our star schemas. The CIO load, if this is enabled. The SSAS load, this loads the data into the SAS tabular models. And the SIS and SAS processes that are running during this process. The stage load involves transferring data from the Ellipse database into the DataMart database. This is a straight copy of this data and no transformations happen during this stage. This query can be used to monitor the stage load's running jobs. Each table transferred from Ellipse into the DataMart database is done using one SSIS package. The configuration for these packages are contained in the MSFPackages table. This query can be used to monitor the current status of the load. The state field specifies the current state of each load. -1 for running, 0 for waiting, 2 for error. I will now show you what it looks like when a run is currently in progress. It is important to note that if all records have a status of 1, then the load has completed correctly. If no items are reported as 0 or -1, then the load has also been completed. If 1 or more items are errored in status of 2, then no further loads will be done. The ETL load and other loads will not start. You can now see that the load has started. There is currently 1 job running. As you refresh this query, you will see the current status change. In this example, you will see a new item that I have not mentioned before called -9. This means it is waiting to be scheduled and has not started yet in the SSI system, and this can be ignored for now. As you can see, we are now still continuing the processing and 64 jobs have yet to be started. There are also 5 jobs that are currently running and 37 have completed correctly. This will continue to go along until all jobs have been processed, and every job should either have a state of 1 as being completed or 2 as being failed. As you can see now, we have successfully completed all jobs. Now the processing would have moved on to the ETL load. The ETL load is the process that transforms the data loaded from the stage load into the star schemas. This query can be used to monitor the ETL load's running jobs. This will work in exactly the same way as the MSFPackages are monitored. The only differences with this is that ETLPackages will not start until all the prerequisites for them are first run. This will introduce a new error type of 3, which means that 1 or more of the ETL packages that it requires have failed, and this will cause this package not to be in a runnable state. After all items in this are reported as 1, then this stage has completed and the next loading stage will begin. The next load that could occur is the CIO load. This will only occur if the CIO system is enabled. If this is not enabled, the load cycle will go directly from the ETL load to the SAS load. Otherwise, the CIO system will be refreshed from the data that was originally copied during the stage load. The CIO system will not load any data directly from the Ellipse database. The CIO system would have been installed into this directory. In this directory, there is an ETL directory that holds the ETL processing for the CIO system. There is then going to be a file called out.txt. This will contain the log of the current running process. This file will continue to be updated as the processing continues. But finally, when you see an item like this, will then mean that this process has completed. After this, the next staging load will begin, which will be the SAS load. The SAS load does not have a log file that is generated while the process is running. For this purpose, we're also going to be looking at the SAS and SIS processes that are run. Log files are produced for this system, but they are not created until the process has finished. We will now look into this in more detail. I have 3 windows open currently. One being the Task Manager to monitor the running processes. 2 being the SQL Server Management Studio that we'll start jobs from, 3 being the logs directory where the SAS logs are stored and created. Before running this, I'll explain the processes that we're going to monitor. We are going to monitor the IS Service exe processes. These are the SSIS execution processes that will run the staging and ETL jobs. After this is completed, if the CIO module is enabled, then we will see a java.exe process. Pentao is used for the ETL processes for CIO. This is run using a Java executable and will refresh the CIO schema. Next, you will see some CIO exe processes. After the ETL of the CIO has been loaded, these are run to automatically calculate the material items in its database. Then finally, we'll see the MSFPackages.exe process. This is the Microsoft SQL Server Analyst services, and this is the process that will refresh the SAS tabular models. I will start parts of the load so it is simpler to show you the running processes. First, I'll run the ETL load. This will just refresh the star schema data from the existing data that is stored in the staging tables. You will now see a collection of IS Service exe processes running. In a normal load, these will continue until both the staging and ETL jobs have completed. It is possible to control the number of these processes that run concurrently. The maximum number of these processes that can run is configurable in the environmental setting in the system. Another video will cover this in more detail. I'll now start the CIO load. This is done by running this job. This will load the CIO data from the staging data contained in the DataMart database. You will now see a Java exe process. This is the Pentao system loading data into the CIO database. You'll also see some PostgreSQL processes. This is the Progress database that CIO stores its data in. When the ETL load is completed for CIO, you will see the CIO exe processes running that automatically calculate the material items in CIO. After this is finished, the SAS load will automatically start. I will now show you how to run the SAS refresh and monitor the running processes for the SAS service. To start this job directly, we can run the load SAS models job. You can see that it is now consuming a lot more CPU resources. There will be only one MSM-DSRV process running during this load. When this is finished, 3 log files will be created and their timestamps updated. 3 log files would have been updated and their timestamps modified. These are the 3 files. If the timestamp is not up to date, the SAS refresh did not complete correctly. This completes the load of the system. The last thing I will show you is how to get the log file from the SQL Server Management Studio. Depending on how the system refresh is scheduled, you would need to check the load all or load all check jobs. To do this, we need to click on the correct job and run a report. You can see this job has failed once and succeeded twice. You can also see the start and end times and the duration in seconds. This now completes the video for load monitoring. Thank you.